Hi, it's David from Life with Parkinson's. If you're new here, welcome. We hope you'll consider subscribing. For everyone else, thank you for coming back to watch this episode of my gluten-free life where I am at. And there have been a lot of changes the last few weeks. As most of you know, I've converted over to a gluten-free diet. So we're just going to talk about some of those changes and also some positive ones as well. As this is day 4 now without any major withdrawal symptoms, and I am very grateful for that. So we have a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. Let's get right to it. Okay, I gotta tell you guys, lots of things have happened to me the last few weeks since I've been on this transition journey, and a lot of the symptoms were more prominent and sharper than I thought they would be. Like I knew doubling up on top of my Parkinson's symptoms would be difficult. But when my symptoms peaked last weekend, Saturday and Sunday were the worst out of any of the days of the last month. You know, for one example, I was off from like 3:30 one day until like the following morning around 8 or 10 o'clock in the morning. That was a long off. And a big thanks goes out to my wife Haley for helping me through those hard times.
Thank you.
You know, she came every time and she never complained or
I love you.
Made any indication that giving me a hand was inconvenient or difficult. Because I spent a lot of extra time crawling to the bathroom. And I couldn't get my food. So yeah, and that's my first point is if you undertake something like this, make sure you tell people and make sure you have some help. I know not everyone's symptoms are going to be the same, and people might have worse symptoms than I did or even less, but you know, there may be some days when your withdrawal symptoms peak that you're going to need some help, as I did. But the bonus for that is that now that I've hit that peak and things are coming down slowly, life is getting a little bit better. For example, some months ago, just over a year ago, when I started the Parkinson's glove journey, I had just gotten a new symptom where I would like put my right hand up as a question. Like I was asking a question and I couldn't pull it down. Like if I pulled it down, it would just come right back up. And it would last anywhere from 10, 15 to 20 minutes. And I wasn't in control of my body at all. That symptom has completely disappeared since I've started withdrawing from gluten. So within a month, I haven't had that symptom at all. And for me, that's really exciting. But it seems to be the dystonia symptoms are clearing up. Like, I know I've mentioned it a lot of times, like it's that right leg lock where my right leg just locks up in the morning. That has disappeared as well. And the other dystonia symptom I would get that would be really painful is my hands would go all into weird shapes and I wouldn't be able to like get my fingers to sit properly. That has cleared up as well. So it's not always, what I've learned from this is that when you have symptoms and you think it's Parkinson's, it might not always be that way. Now, I'm not saying this is true for everyone. Okay, we're all different and we all take a different journey through Parkinson's. But for me, I think some of my major symptoms were due to the gluten, just because now that I've stopped eating gluten, some things have gone away. So, Parkinson's disease is such a hard disease to diagnose and keep track of. And there's so many different factors coming at us from all different angles and points of view. But it seems to me some of my Parkinson's symptoms weren't due to Parkinson's. It was due to being incredibly gluten intolerant. Like, I can't use the toaster anymore. Anytime I make something for Haley that has gluten in it, I wash my hands before I touch my face or, lick a finger. Or, not that I'm licking my fingers all day. But you know what I mean, right? I use a separate pots and pans to cook my food. Like, the gluten bothers me a lot. So for me, I'm grateful that there is at least a possibility that some of my symptoms weren't caused directly by the Parkinson's, but indirectly they were. Okay, next part of the video. The cost of transitioning to a gluten-free diet. Now, Haley and I have looked at this before because there was one time that we thought that she was gluten intolerant. This was probably like 10 or 15 years ago. Back then, when we were looking at starting to buy more gluten-free food, we just went, oh my goodness, everything is so freaking expensive. The research I've done indicates that it's probably equal to, or in some cases, maybe a little bit less to switch to a gluten-free diet. Just because now, in recent years, a lot of the major grocery stores have added an international food aisle. And the superstore where we live has like corn flour, rice flour, chickpea flour. So, I can make bread, pancakes, all the things that I enjoyed before, just with a different flour base. And having that different taste is actually quite welcome. From eating the same grain year after year after year, switching over to something else is actually kind of fun. And it gives me the opportunity to learn different recipes, different ways of cooking things. And, a lot of the foods I liked anyhow were international foods. Like, I love East Indian food, I love Thai food, I love Chinese food. And now I can cook those gluten-free and learn a lot of fun recipes. And the cost isn't there from when we looked a long time ago. So I don't know if things have changed or we weren't just looking in the right spots. But we found that switching over to gluten-free isn't very expensive at all. And hey, I've got time to cook, so why not learn some new things? It's turned out to be a fun little endeavor that's just beginning. And it's only on day 4. I just want to remind you that. It's only the 4th day without any major gluten withdrawal symptoms. So I don't know if they're going to come back. I don't know if it's going to keep going this way. But having this state where I'm at now is very welcome. One thing I was worried about was bread, because I like my toast in the morning with peanut butter and banana. Just this last Wednesday, my mom and sister came to visit, and they brought me a gluten-free recipe for bread, which is really, really good. And I'll be doing a video on that soon with my mom. And also a gluten-free cookie recipe with virtually no sugar. And I'll do a video about that. My mom and I made those together, so I'm quite excited to do the videos. So there are options out there that you can still have your favorite foods, and it all works out just fine. My commitment to stick to this menu is pretty permanent, just because of the fact that if I eat gluten, I go off, and off is the dangerous time where the falls happen. And basically the most unfun thing about Parkinson's is being off. When you just want to stand up and walk somewhere, but you can't. I know most of you know what that feels like. It's like, I'm never going to take walking for granted again. Getting up to walk whenever you want, even in the middle of the night. Man, I would love to be able to do that all the time. So yeah, I'm going to stick to this diet. No intention of changing, not missing any of the gluten foods, because I know they just make me sick and not feel good, and for 3 hours I can't walk. One other thing I wanted to add here is bowel movements are much better. Happening every day now since I've switched over. Whereas with the gluten, it would be every 2 to 3 days. It's just amazing how it affected me. And just making a simple, well, it wasn't a simple change, it was a very difficult one for many days. But just making that simple change has helped my life a lot. So yeah, there is hope out there. There are things that we can do that might help us. So thank you for continuing to take this journey together. Thank you for liking, watching, subscribing, and sharing this channel with your friends and family. Leave a comment or a question below. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day. Goodbye.